Welcome the next Vice President of the United States, the great governor of the great state of Indiana, Governor Mike Pence, accompanied by the First Lady of Indiana, Karen Pence. Thank you for coming out today. He was just here last night because North Carolina is going to lead us to a great, great victory all across the United States of America in just 4 days. Karen and I are delighted to be with you and delighted to be with the next great Attorney General for the state of North Carolina, Ken Buck. Thank you so very much. Thank you for your great leadership. Ken gave me a pretty short introduction, which I like. But the one I prefer might be just as short. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican, in that order. And I'm honored to be with you today. Along with my wife, Karen, it was a little more than 3 months ago that I accepted this party's nomination to run and serve as the next Vice President of the United States of America. And thank you for coming out today. Thank you for being here. You know, I accepted this nomination in a heartbeat, because you have nominated a man for president who never quits, who never backs down. He is a fighter. He is a winner. And until very recently, it seemed like he was out there fighting all on his own. But now this movement is coming together. North Carolina is coming together. We're going to make Donald Trump the next president of the United States of America. You know, I truly do believe Donald Trump literally embodies the spirit of America. Strong, freedom-loving, independent, optimistic, and willing to fight every single day for what he believes in and for what make America great again. You know, and it's not like it's exactly been a fair fight out there. I'll tell you. You know, I get up every morning. It's like I got to turn on the television with a stick. You know what I'm talking about? It's like I don't even know what's going to be there, right? I mean, it's like many in the national media get up and it's 2-on-1 with the national media doing half of Hillary Clinton's work for her every day. But they're still outnumbered. Because Donald Trump is winning hearts and minds every day, and he's going to win all the way to the White House. It really is something, though. Did you ever see the media about a week ago? I was watching some of these Sunday shows, you know, and it was all rolled up, right? Hillary Clinton's allies in the media were all talking about how, you know, it's just a matter of time. It's all but over, right? She was naming cabinet appointments, I think. All right? Measuring curtains in the Oval Office or something. And then all of a sudden the American people stepped in. And we're leading in national polls across the country, and we're leading in the state of North Carolina. This race is on. This race is on. We are coming out of the fourth turn. It is wheel to wheel, and we are going to sprint all the way to the checkered flag here in North Carolina and across the country. You know, I got to tell you, I mean, it's she may have the media, the money, and the special interests on her side, but Donald Trump and I got something a little bit more powerful. We got a basket of the American people that are saying enough is enough. We're going to make America great again. Because, you know, I think the American people know this election is not so much a choice between two people. It's a choice between two futures. So let me tell you where I stand. I choose a stronger America. I choose a more prosperous America. I choose an America that celebrates our constitutional liberties and ideals. So I choose to stand with Donald Trump and every American who knows we can make America great again. You know, the truth of the matter is 7 out of 10 Americans today know this country's headed in the wrong direction. I mean, the truth is that the American people have really had enough. And they've especially had enough of the fast and loose ethics of the Clintons these last 30 years. I mean, it's almost hard to keep up, isn't it? It's almost hard to keep up. Let me break it down for you if I can. So while she was Secretary of State, in charge of all the foreign policy of the United States, she had this private foundation taking major contributions, millions of dollars from foreign governments. And then in between those two things, she had a private server to presumably keep all the communications away from you and me, out of the public domain. And when it was found out she had a private server while she was Secretary of State, she used high-tech to try and keep that stuff away from us. I mean, really, the American people are, I just think the American people, we just start putting up with it, and it sounds like the Department of Justice is starting to feel the same way. Do you hear about that? I mean, after last summer when the Department of Justice found that she had classified documents on that private server, right? That they found out that they concluded she was just extremely careless with those documents, decided not to pursue investigation or charges, but then last Friday, a week ago today, we learned that the FBI said there were emails pertinent to the investigation, and the FBI has reopened the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private server when she was Secretary of State. We commend the FBI for reopening the case and just following the facts. Because here in America, what makes America special is that no one is above the law. Now, we're confident the FBI is going to handle this investigation in a professional and a timely way, but let's talk about what we already know. Let's talk about what we already know. Because there's just been an avalanche of information that's come out in emails through Freedom of Information requests and private organizations, and even some in the news media found this stuff out. I mean, we found out there were about a dozen companies that gave enormous contributions to the Clinton Foundation that were also lobbying the State Department at the same time. And the lobbyists they were using were raising money for her presidential campaign. We found out that aides to the Clintons would be raising money for the foundation from major corporations and then having those corporations write huge personal income contracts to Bill Clinton, $66 million over 9 years. We found out, even though she said it never happened, that when the State Department was handing out billions of dollars to rebuild Haiti after that terrible earthquake, that actually aides to the Secretary of State said that friends of the Clintons over here should be flagged for business contracts. Everybody else could just go to the website. And we even found out that from the FBI that the State Department actually offered the FBI a quid pro quo if they'd let them change the classified status on those emails on her server. But let me just tell you, folks, there's a lot of reasons to elect Donald Trump, but if only for the decades of their self-dealing, their conflict of interest, the Clintons' politics of personal enrichment and outright corruption, we must ensure here in North Carolina that Hillary Clinton is never elected President of the United States of America. The American people are sick and tired of pay-to-play politics, and that's exactly the kind of politics that's going to come to a crashing halt when Donald Trump becomes President of the United States. His only special interest will be you, the American people, and he's going to fight for you every day. And Donald Trump's got a plan. After we re-elect Republican majorities in the House and Senate, you send Senator Richard Burr back to a Republican majority in the United States Senate. We're going to pass ethics reform in the first 100 days. We're going to stop the revolving door between public service and lobbying. We are, in a word, going to drain the swamp. We're going to have government as good as our people again. We're going to have government as good as our people again. The truth of the matter is, though, this election's about a lot bigger things than the Clinton small ethics. And in the days that we have remaining here, 4 days to this historic election, we got to talk to our neighbors and friends about the big things too. Okay? It has to do with our national security, our prosperity, and the Supreme Court of the United States of America. We got to go talk to people about this. Got to go talk to people. On national security, you know, it's absolutely undeniable the world is a more dangerous place today than the day that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama took over our foreign policy. I mean, there's literally wider areas of the Middle East that have just been spinning apart in the last 7.5 years because of the weak and apologetic leadership of this administration, the architect of which was Hillary Clinton. Our allies are less secure, our enemies are more emboldened. I mean, history teaches that weakness arouses evil. And the weak and feckless foreign policy of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton of leading from behind, of moving red lines, of feigning resets with Russia and paying ransom to terror-sponsoring states is emblematic of that kind of weak leadership. Let me make you a promise. When Donald Trump is president of the United States, we won't be paying ransom to terror-sponsoring states. They'll be paying a price. They'll be paying a price if they detain American citizens against their will. Actually, Hillary Clinton was the one that started that disastrous agreement with the radical mullahs in Iran. They got $150 billion on top of that ransom payment. All we got was a promise to delay the nuclear ambitions of the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world, Iran. It was Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State that failed outright to negotiate an agreement with the sovereign government of Iraq following the success of the American soldier in Operation Iraqi Freedom. We weren't able to keep any forces in Iraq to secure what the American soldier had won at great sacrifice at the end of 2012 because Hillary Clinton failed to negotiate an agreement with Iraq. All the American soldiers came out, a vacuum was created, and you know, nature abhors a vacuum. And so does geopolitics. And the vacuum was filled by the monstrous terrorist organization ISIS that overran vast areas that had already been won by the American soldier. You know, it's so important to remember that because of their sacrifices and the sacrifices of their families, through great hardship, through years of setbacks, the American soldier won the peace and security of the people of Iraq in Operation Iraqi Freedom. They won it by 2008. It was done. In fact, my bet is, standing here in North Carolina, I bet there's some men and women that wore the uniform in that conflict and in other times in our nation's history. Would you all just either mind standing or put your hand in the air if you've worn the uniform of the United States so we can thank you one more time? Thank you for your service, and thank you for our freedom. What the American soldier won in Operation Iraqi Freedom was squandered because of the decisions of this administration and Hillary Clinton. And right now, as we stand here in the sunshine today in North Carolina, there's 5,000 special forces lined up outside Mosul, having to go back and fight again to win what had already been won. And it was Hillary Clinton and her State Department who left Americans in harm's way in Benghazi on September 11, 2012, and never sent help. Never sent help. And after 4 Americans fell, she told the families of the fallen that it was because of a filmmaker back here in the States. Even though she had written her own daughter that night to say that it was a terrorist-style Al-Qaeda attack. When she was confronted about that inconsistency, the story that she and the rest of the administration told for days after Benghazi happened, she said with real emotion in her voice before a Senate committee, of those 4 fallen Americans and the reason why they fell, what difference at this point does it make? Well, let me tell you, as the proud father of a United States Marine officer, anybody who said that, anybody who did that, should be disqualified from ever serving as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States of America. You do not leave Americans in harm's way and never send help. And after Americans fall, you do not say, what difference does it make? Why? We cannot have 4 more years apologizing to our enemies and abandoning our friends. For America to be safe, for the world to be safe, America needs to be strong. And Donald Trump will lead on the world stage with American strength. We will rebuild our military. We will restore the arsenal of democracy. We will give our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, and Coast Guard the resources and the training they need to accomplish their missions. And we will hunt down and destroy ISIS at its source, so it can no longer threaten our people or inspire violence in the homeland. So this choice that we face is really about security. But it's also about safety here at home. And the truth of the matter is that this has been a very challenging time for law enforcement in this country. It really has. You know that full well here in North Carolina. Karen and I just arrived in Des Moines, Iowa, night before last. Before we went to our hotel, we went by to place flowers on makeshift memorials outside 2 police stations where 2 police officers have been cut down in a merciless ambush. We paused for a brief prayer and went our way and assured their fellow officers that every American's heart was in Iowa. But it's been a challenging time. I mean, you all know here in North Carolina from firsthand experience, it seems like every time there's tragedy in the wake of a police officer performing their duties, there's too many on the political left and too many in the national media that are quick to demean all of law enforcement with a broad brush as a force for division in our country. Hillary Clinton herself has referred to institutional bias in all of law enforcement. Well, Donald Trump and I know different. Men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement are not a force for division in our communities. They're a force for good. They are the best of us, and they deserve the support of the rest of us. You know, we got a lot of law enforcement officers with us here today. Would you all just mind showing them exactly how much you appreciate the sacrifices they and their families make to protect our families every day? Thanks, everybody. I promise you, when he becomes the chief law enforcement officer of the United States, a President Donald Trump will support the men and women in law enforcement in this country at every level. We will provide them with the resources they need to protect our families and go home safe to theirs. Where Hillary Clinton wants to have open borders, she said that in a speech down in Brazil, Donald Trump will end illegal immigration in this country, and we will remove criminal illegal aliens from our streets first. Where Hillary Clinton wants to expand the Syrian refugee program by 550%, even though our Homeland Security says we can't know who they all are, Donald Trump and I will immediately suspend immigration from countries compromised by terrorism. In a word, Donald Trump, as President of the United States, will put the safety and security of the American people first every day, and we will restore law and order to every city and every community in this land. You know, all that's probably why more than 330,000 members of the Fraternal Order of Police have endorsed Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States of America. So it's about our national security. It's about our safety here at home. You go from here today, you need to talk to people about that, but it's also about jobs, or the lack thereof. Another jobs report just came out this morning. Lackluster performance in the most powerful economy on earth. It is really extraordinary to think we're in the weakest economic recovery since the Great Depression. Literally. 7.5 years of more taxes, more regulation, Obamacare, bad trade deals. American economy is struggling and American families are paying the price. It's heartbreaking to think that 20%, 1 in 5 American households today have no one with a job living under the same roof. 47 million Americans are living below the poverty line. 45 million Americans have food stamps. I mean, Hillary Clinton's plan, more of the same. Not the same. Don't tell your neighbors it's the same. More of the same. More taxes, more regulation, more government spending, more of the war on American energy that's stifling jobs and growth, and more Obamacare. You know, they tell us it's the best we can do. We just got to keep trying this. There's an old definition of insanity. You remember what that is? Keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. You know, they tell us this economy is the best we can do. Well, you and I know different here in North Carolina. It's not the best we can do. It's just the best they can do. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to put time-honored conservative principles into practice, and we're going to get this economy moving again. We're going to put America back to work, because Donald Trump's got a plan. Right after you send Richard Burr back to the United States Senate, re-elect all these great congressmen from here in North Carolina to a conservative majority in the House. Hillary Clinton wants to raise taxes by $1 trillion. President Donald Trump and I are going to cut taxes across the board. For working families, small businesses, and family farms. We're going to get rid of death taxes once and for all. And we're going to lower business taxes in America so companies in North Carolina can create jobs here in the United States and not see them shipped overseas. We're going to have a moratorium on any new federal red tape, and day one, Donald Trump's going to repeal every single executive order that Barack Obama signed, stifling jobs and growth in this economy. And day one of a Trump-Pence administration, the war on coal comes to a crashing halt. We're going to develop all of the above energy in this country, call forth all the power of our nation, and drive an American recovery. And when Donald Trump becomes negotiator-in-chief, you with me on that one? The man who wrote The Art of the Deal, the man who knows how to make a deal, is going to make sure that trade deals work for American workers first. Trade means jobs. What you make and grow in North Carolina, we want to sell around the world. Imports keep costs of goods low, but when we do trade deals with countries, it's going to mean American jobs first. We're going to renegotiate NAFTA. We're going to get out of this Trans-Pacific deal, and we're going to hold our trading partners accountable to the promises that they make to the people who live in the most powerful economy on earth. That's how we're going to make it work. And probably most important at all, and he said he'd call a special session of Congress to get this one done. He gave a speech in Philadelphia. I was alongside just a couple of days ago. But Donald Trump and I are going to finally hold him in Washington, D.C. accountable for all the lies of the unaffordable Affordable Care Act. You ready on this one? Remember what they told us? Hillary Clinton told you this too. Barack Obama did. All the rest of them did. If you like your doctor, you can keep him. Not true. If you like your health insurance, you can keep it. Not true. That health insurance costs were going to go down. Boy, that one's absolutely not true. We just heard the average premiums for health insurance next year The Obama administration says it's going to go up 25% in 1 year. 40% average premium increase here in North Carolina. It's incredible. I mean, even our opponent's husband the other day said, costs are going up. Coverage is going down. It's the craziest thing in the world. You hear that? Yeah, but don't be fooled by Bill Clinton's newfound skepticism. Hillary Clinton told you earlier this year where she stands. She said, quote, before they called it Obamacare, we called it Hillary Care. In fact, Hillary Clinton's got a plan to fix all the problems by importing the worst ideas from Canada. She gave one of those speeches she didn't want us to hear, up in Canada. And she actually told the Canadians that have socialized medicine, right? Total government-run health care, that she wanted a health care system in America like the health care system in Canada. My favorite one, though, was when President Obama went to Miami about a week ago. Karen and I are headed to Miami right after we leave you. He gave a little speech down there in which he compared Obamacare to the Samsung Galaxy 7 phones that spontaneously burst into flames. Did you hear about this? No, he did, really. President Obama said these words in Miami. He said, quote, when one of these smartphones has a few bugs, they don't pull it off the market. They upgrade it. Unless it catches fire, then they pull it off the market. Well, what a coincidence, Mr. President. Because that's exactly what we're going to do with Obamacare. We're going to pull it off the market so it stops burning up our wallets. Donald Trump's got a plan. We're going to work with that newly re-elected majority in the House and the Senate. We're going to repeal Obamacare, lock, stock, and barrel. And we're going to replace it with health care reform, not that gives you more government. We're going to have a health care reform that gives you more choices. We're going to allow Americans to buy health insurance across state lines. We're going to use the power of the free market to drive down the cost of health insurance and health care in America. That's the American way to meet the challenges of health care in the 21st century. So it's about security, it's about prosperity, but maybe most importantly, it's about the destiny of the highest court in the land. I mean, the truth is, the next president is going to serve a 4-year term right before he serves an 8-year term. But whoever's president the next 4 years is going to set the course and direction of the Supreme Court for the next 40 years. So you better think long and hard about that. For real. If you cherish the Constitution, North Carolina, if you cherish the liberties enshrined in our First Amendment, in our Second Amendment, if you cherish the sanctity of life and the unborn, if you cherish limited government and all the principles enshrined in our Constitution, North Carolina, you've got to make sure you do your part to ensure that the next president who will make appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States will be President Donald Trump. It's that important. It's that important. It truly is. Men and women, as we get ready to wing out of here, I got a couple things I want to ask you to do. But first, I just want to tell you, Karen and I are just very humbled that you're with us here today. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful. I mean, I know I'm not exactly the main event, and the main event was just here, and y'all still came out. So thank you. It's the greatest honor of my life to be here. I mean, it's amazing for me to think. My grandfather immigrated to this country from Ireland when he was about our son's age. Richard Michael Cawley is who Richard Pence was named after. I literally grew up on the footstool of the American dream. That Irishman's brogue still rings in my ear. He was my grandfather and he was my friend. I watched my parents build everything that matters, a family, a business, and a good name. I just can't even possibly imagine what Grandpa's thinking looking down from glory. Except that he was right. He was right about America. Anybody can be anybody. And that's why he came. With this incredible privilege, it just blesses our heart. We come at with a seriousness, I promise you, because I think this country's in a lot of trouble. Karen and I said yes. We said yes to this opportunity because we really do believe all of us need to do all we can to turn this country around, to turn America back to what we know will make America strong again, safe again, and great again. Now it's your turn. So I want to challenge you in a couple of different ways. First and foremost, vote. Now, Ken already told me a number of you already voted, and the rest of you, the day is young. County Office Building, 1717 West 5th Street, Greenville, North Carolina, open till 5, Monday through Friday. It's only 4.7 miles away from right here. Go vote and bring a friend. Friends don't let friends vote alone. Okay? And give a round of applause to all of you already wearing that sticker that you did vote. I'm awful proud of you people getting out and pulling the lever. I mean, truthfully, we all just have to remind each other that, well, sometimes if you turn on the TV or something or open up the paper, it may look like somebody else is in charge. We are. The American people are. So the second thing I tell you is, once you voted, go tell somebody. I mean, the truth is, it really has been, 2-on-1 since well before I joined this campaign, with the media out there doing half of Hillary Clinton's work for her. But the amazing thing is, this movement around the country of which you are all a part is continuing to grow all across America because the American people are talking to each other. And the American people have decided to make America great again. I believe it with all of my heart. I mean, Donald Trump and I talk just about every day. I was talking to him in the car before we jumped on the airplane this morning. And sometimes we talk more than once a day. We campaign together about every week. And when I'm rolling along in that motorcade with him, we'll be pulling into places with these enormous lines outside and tens of thousands of people coming. He always invariably looks at me in the car, and he'll poke me in the shoulder. And you can see he's moved as he looks at the crowd. He literally tries to wave at every person that's waving. And he'll say to me, Mike, this is not about me. It's not about us. It's not about our party. He always says to me, this is a movement of the American people. And the American people are going to make America great again. So you got to go keep telling people. Go tell people what the stakes are in this election. Go tell them what the choice is in this election. And I really do believe that as you tell them, this isn't even so much a choice between left and right or Republican and Democrat on this one. I think it's like Ronald Reagan said back in the 60s. It's a choice between up and down. I mean, here's the way I see it. Are we going to continue to go down the hill to a weaker America on the world stage, an American economy more stifled by more taxes, more government, more Obamacare, bad trade deals, and America walking farther and farther away from our most cherished constitutional ideals, or whether we here in North Carolina are going to stop, plant our feet, turn around, and march back up the hill to a stronger America at home and abroad, a more prosperous America with a boundless future for our children and grandchildren, an America that cherishes without apology our highest constitutional liberties every single day. That's the choice we have. It's between up and down. But you got to go tell your neighbors and friends. Tell your friends that are independents out there to join so many independents who've joined this movement because they're tired of gridlock in Washington, D.C. Go out there and talk to your Democrat neighbors and friends. Millions of Democrats around America have been drawn to Donald Trump's message because they're tired of liberal policies coming out of our nation's capital, and they're tired of They're tired of trade deals that are shipping jobs out of North Carolina and out of the country. But if you're of a mind particularly, I'd encourage you to talk to some of our Republican friends yet in the 4 days that remain. I think it's time for us to say, after a long and divisive primary, and I think there were like 150 people running for president when it got started. I think it's time for us to say with one voice to our Republican neighbors and friends, it's time to come home. It's time to come home and elect Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. It's time to come home and re-elect Governor Pat McCrory to the State House in North Carolina. It's time to come home and re-elect Senator Richard Burr to a Republican majority in the United States Senate. It's time to come home and re-elect strong Republican majorities and a new Attorney General in Ken Buck. And it's time to come home and make sure that North Carolina does its part to ensure that Hillary Clinton is never elected president of the United States of America. My fellow Republicans, it's time to come home. And I want to acknowledge a group that's here. I won't make them climb over the railing, but there's a group here of wonderful Republican women that are spouses of distinguished members of Congress. They've been traveling in a bus all over this state, all over this. Can they come up, dear? These are Women for Trump. Would you welcome them? Suzanne Conaway, wife of Congressman Mike Conaway. Chris Kramer, wife of Congressman Kramer. Debbie Farenholt. Leanne Johnson. Big round of applause. These ladies have been burning the miles. They have been burning the miles. Women for Trump. Keep it going. I'm telling you what. This is a high mileage group. Aren't they great? Well, let me tell you right now, the last thing I'd encourage you to do is what these people are practicing every day. And that is have faith. Okay? Have faith in our neighbors and friends and their ability when we present a clear choice for a stronger, more prosperous America to choose that America. Okay? And if you're ever inclined as Karen and I are, and so many with us today are, to exercise the other kind of faith, we encourage you to do that too. The next 4 days is a good time to, after you vote, bring a friend. After you go tell somebody, especially go tell a lot of our Republican friends. Just, if you're inclined to bow the head and bend the knee, it'd be a good time to do it. And you know, I'm here because I'm a part of this team. I'm here for the cause here in North Carolina and all across this country. But on this one, I think Abraham Lincoln had it pretty close to right. He was asked one time if he thought God was on his side during his time. And he said, you know, I rather concern myself more with whether we're on God's side than that God is on our side. So just pray for our country. Pray for America. Because America matters. And when you pray, pray with confidence. As Karen and I believe, what so many have believed throughout the long history of this country, that if His people who are called by His name will humble themselves and pray, He'll do like He's always done through the long and storied history of our nation. He'll hear from heaven. And He'll heal this land. This one nation under God. Indivisible. With liberty and justice for all. So where's my wife? Where'd she go? Get right over here.
We're going to take her on the bus.
Now look, if you all go do what you need to do, here in North Carolina in the next 4 days, which I've given you the list. Vote early with a friend. Go tell somebody, especially a lot of our Republican friends out there. And you approach it all with faith and confidence in the American people and in Him who placed this miracle of democracy on these wilderness shores. If you do all that you need to do in the next 4 days, I'll make you a promise. North Carolina, that man is ready. This team is ready. This movement is obviously ready. If you go out and make sure that North Carolina is ready, we will elect Donald Trump as the 45th President of the United States of America, and we will make America great again. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Let's go get it done, North Carolina.